What's going on, preppers? Economic prepper here. Lots of concerns are coming through as layoffs are starting to pick up, as more evictions are starting to pick up as well. And the question is, are they trying to wear us out? Or more accurately put, are they preparing to wipe us out as more and more families they're being burdened with the concern of homelessness? And homelessness has been lately a concern that many families have had at a much higher rate than we've seen in previous years. Eviction filings nationwide have essentially steadily risen in recent months and are approaching or even exceeding pre-pandemic levels in many cities and in many states. Now, this is in stark contrast to the pandemic when we had state level as well as federal moratoriums on evictions. And this was combined with the $46 billion in federal emergency rental assistance that kept millions of families housed. And keep in mind, even though they provided $46 billion in rental assistance for many families, they made it very, very difficult for families to even access. It was almost like the money wasn't even available. Now, we may be seeing only the tip of the iceberg. We recently saw June filings in Denver, which were about 24% higher than the same time 3 years ago. And basically the numbers of the evictions, they're increasing every single month at a rather astonishing rate. And most analysts, most experts are not seeing this abating anytime soon. So this could very well be the tip of the iceberg, and we could see things get tremendously worse before they get better. Now, according to the Eviction Lab, several cities, they're running way above historical averages. You've got Minneapolis, St. Paul at 91% higher in June. You got Las Vegas, and Las Vegas's real estate market is starting to crash. We're seeing declines in real estate prices at a far faster clip than we've seen in other states. Now, if you guys remember back in 2008, Las Vegas was one of the states or one of the cities that saw the most drastic declines in real estate values. They saw the most drastic increase in real estate values during the boom, but during the bust, they saw one of the most drastic decreases in real estate prices. So we may actually be seeing history repeat itself. You got several different legal advocates saying that the sharp increase in housing prices due to inflation is partly to blame, and who could argue that, right? Rental prices nationwide, they're also up about 15% from just a year ago. If you're looking to buy a house right now, real estate home prices are up about 15% from a year ago. So, you know, if you're a prepper and you're looking for a place to call home and also build your wealth through real estate, it's getting harder and harder to do, even in the face of the Fed raising interest rates, attempting to curb inflation. So, you know, things are not getting any easier. And like I said, guys, I think that we are very much so just on the tip of the iceberg. Rental prices nationwide, they're up 15% and almost 25% from 2019. So whatever you were paying for rent back in 2019, it's probably a good 25% higher today, just 3 years from 2019. So, you know, you've got rental vacancy rates. These have declined to a 35-year low at 5.8%. So basically, there's nowhere to rent. Vacancy rates for rentals, you know, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a real estate investor, you know that the rental eviction rates are very, very low. The rental vacancy rates are very, very low. So what this means is that the demand is very, very high. And what have we seen about supply and demand over the past several years is that when the supply dwindles and the demand stays the same or potentially increases, the prices go higher. And this is why we're seeing more and more rent hikes going forward, and why more and more families, as a result of their incomes not increasing at the rate that inflation is increasing, their concern for homelessness is going higher and higher. You've got some reports that are actually coming out as recent as last month that found that a tenant working full-time needs to make nearly $26 per hour on average nationally just to afford a basic 2-bedroom rental, and $21.25 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Federal minimum wage is still only $7.25 an hour. But you guys let me know, how much is it for a 1-bedroom apartment where you live? And if you happen to know this as well, drop me a comment down below. How much would it cost to rent a 2-bedroom apartment where you live in your city? But landlords are faced with increased costs from insurance to taxes to maintenance of their rental property, of their investment real estate. Clearly, more effects of inflation are raising the rent and making it very unaffordable for tenants to stay, further propelling this concern for homelessness. And you've got inflation, which really shrunk the supply of housing that's available for people with the lowest incomes. And this is what happens every time. Low-income Americans are always going to be hit the furthest, or I should say the first. It's kind of like if you're living in imagine you're in an apartment or a tall building. Imagine you're in a resort near the ocean, and all of a sudden there's a massive flood. And if you're low income, you're on the first floor. And the more income you make, the higher the floor you are. So just imagine if a flood comes in, who's going to get hit first? It's going to be the lowest income Americans being hit first. And this is exactly what we're seeing right now in the housing market. And, without the protections in place that we saw during the pandemic, there's going to be a lot more families potentially experiencing homelessness. And this is rather scary. And we're seeing, if you guys follow Kevin Prepper, he just got back from a trip where he visited California, and he was letting us know how bad the homelessness situation was. You had tents upon tents on the side of the road, on the side of these streets. It's getting really bad. And housing is based on supply and demand. And when no one moves, you have no vacancies. And because housing prices are so expensive, a lot of people who want to become first-time home buyers, or they want to invest in real estate, they want to buy real estate, they can't afford to do it right now because the cost of housing is so expensive. And so this is also helping to suppress the vacancy rate, making renting so much more expensive right now. Now, you've got, families with federal housing vouchers. They're in fear that they're not going to be able to find anything by September when these vouchers expire because of these rising housing prices. And if you've got an eviction on your record, you may be screwed. You may be screwed, and you may find yourself in a homeless situation. Now, homeless doesn't necessarily mean you're living on the street. Maybe you have friends or family that you can stay with, and so you're on paper homeless, but you have a roof over your head. Hopefully, families are not going to actually be homeless and living on the streets, living in tents. Now, it definitely is mind-blowing that, everything on the market is so beyond the reach of many families, even after nonprofits are offering to cover security deposits. So things are getting rough out here, guys, but it's all about preparation. This is why I'm saying, stockpile cash. Consider a second job to boost your income. Consider creating a side hustle. Anything to get your family into higher ground, so to speak. If we were to use the example of living on a higher floor during a flood, the higher up you can get, you want to get the higher ground is what I'm saying. And you want to do this economically. And I'm not convinced that we're not already in a recession. If you ask me, we're already in a recession, and we've been in a recession for at least several months. And whether or not the media wants to admit to it or not, we have to prepare now. We have to prepare immediately, and we have to spread the word to those who are not yet aware of what's actually happening around us. So I just wanted to share this information with you guys. I thought it would be helpful to the community. If you made it this far, drop a like for the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and I look forward to talking to you guys on the next one.